Everything about this movie screams Suicide Squad. So going in, my question was, is it going to be more like the first one or the second one? And I was very surprised to find out that it's actually neither. It is very much a response to Suicide Squad, but it's really its own thing. A thing that's a bit different from even Marvel's normal stuff from a thematic standpoint. It touches more on the human issues and tries to tackle mental health in its own Marvel way. So Yelena, Taskmaster, Ghost, and the second Captain America, John Walker, are individually sent to kill each other at a bunker. They eventually figure out that they were set up, so they decide to work together to escape. Then a bigger danger lurks, so they decide to band together to try and stop it. In that sense, yes, it's very much Suicide Squad. A band of outcasts come together to try to take down the thing. And it's done in your very typical Marvel way with Marvel action and moves, ranging from good to actually really, really fun. I think that the best thing that they did was actually shown in the trailers with, how Bucky is kind of introduced into the action. The whole process of them figuring out what's going on took a bit longer than I expected to, so therefore it kind of gave this weird kind of slow pace to the whole movie. When the team is fully formed is when the team dynamic tries to come in. But they never really feel like a team, which I think is the point of the movie. They're still technically villains, but they're kind of molded into what the movie needs each character to be. And it doesn't do a good job in really exploring each character, except for Yelena. So you end up fumbling the rest of the characters, really not giving us much to explore what each character has to offer. They each play their very superficial roles within the group, but this whole movie is really covered in, your typical Marvel comedy stank. The dialogue is very Marvel, and it's a Marvel movie, so you can't really be mad at Marvel doing Marvel. But it has all the Marvel things where every character has to crack a joke and everyone has this layer of snark. Everyone has to have a comeback, and it's what really annoys me from Marvel movies, that they all have this thing, this very sarcastic, snarky tone. It's the thing that annoys me the most about Marvel movies, is how they talk. And I think that if they would just change that, it would do wonders for the whole universe. For example, Ava, aka Ghost, I don't think she should be out here joking around too much. Now, she's not a Kill Tony comedian, but she does participate in some of the snark. And I just don't think that particularly kind of comedy stuff fits that character. And it's kind of tiring because they do it in every single movie. It's almost predictable what they're going to do and how they're going to say it and what they're going to say. But it's hard because this is not necessarily this movie's fault. It's the MCU's fault as a whole. It's just the way everything is written. Everyone has to be witty. Even the guy in the corner of the room who has no confidence, he has some sort of comeback all the time. Or this assistant lady who's the assistant to the Thing, who shouldn't be, a major player. She, has confidence to talk to people a certain way. So they all talk the same, so it robs every character of showing some sort of uniqueness in the way they talk, because they all sound exactly the same or pretty close. So this really hurts the villain or the person who's moving all the pieces, because the snark is turned up to 1,000. And it sucks because there's so much complexity and mystery left on the table that could have been explored with this character. And they kind of hint with it, but then you're immediately just taken off, right? Instead of using that to kind of humanize this character and have us as the audience empathize and see where they're coming from. Instead, it's just like, here's a glimpse to that. Okay, it's used to further the story in a different way, but it doesn't do a good job really ever in showing different sides of the story, because the sides of the story always come off the same, which ends up being a bit disappointing because of what's left on the table and what they could have done. Because the only ones who should be talking this way in this movie and actually pull it off to an extent is Yelena and the Red Guardian. I feel like that personality trait fits these characters. Alexei, aka David Harbour, he's hilarious, he's the man, but the way that he delivers some things got me to chuckle because of the way that character is being portrayed, and that character is fun, and the snarkiness suits him. Plus, it's David Harbour, and he's the man. And so it also fits with Yelena, and it makes sense because they're family members. So the snark fits because of everything that she's been through, and she's been through a lot. But they don't all need it, and it just ends up being different flavors of snark. And I'm not just talking about this movie, but across the MCU, but because this movie's in the MCU, it really hurts this movie. Because you got the asshole snark, the nerdy snark, the Avenger snark, the snarky snark. It's like, yo, can we just stop with the snark? Snark. Because at the core, you're actually presenting something interesting that I would want to give a shit about. Yelena is struggling and finding purpose and happiness in her life, so She's lost the thrill of the mission. Everything just feels the same to her. Plus, she feels alone. And I really did like how they were playing off of those emotions from her. Mental health and trauma is more at the center here. And the villain has the ability to drop people in their paths and make them relive really bad moments. Of course, the villain has mega baggage themselves, and that's what is used so they can be manipulated. Then they get a god complex, which we've seen Marvel villains have in the past, but to see what happens when this type of person gets all this power is very interesting. How will they react? So they're very humanizing issues taking place in the movie, which feels very different than other movies where the villain's simply just like, I want to take over the world just because I wanna. And it's that element that I wasn't expecting at all to be featured in this movie. I thought it was just gonna find excuses for them to be a bunch of boom booms and pew pews. You know, there is one pew, but you know what I mean. The core of the story are these mental issues, and I found that to be a bit more refreshing. It's still wrapped in your same old Marvel shit, but at least it's a different type of story, and I thought that was kind of cool. And the stakes are still there. This has to be addressed. If not, it does become a gigantic catastrophe. But the fact that it wasn't just a giant beam in the sky, I really enjoyed. I mean, I guess it is darkness in the sky, but still. So again, I like the mental health stuff. Literally, you're fighting your traumas, but I also felt like it wasn't taken advantage of to its fullest to really try and tell a better story and to use it to tell a fun comic book action story. Basically using that to involve more fights or action. Because the issues are mental and you can't punch those away, this leads to an anticlimactic ending, but that's because of the themes, which is not very satisfying for a comic book movie. So I felt like the movie needed something as a representation of the mental issues that these fools can fight and punch and kick and do cool shit with. Something to give like a final showdown feel to it. So the way that the ending of the movie was handled is kind of meh as a comic book movie, but I found it kind of interesting overall. As for the world itself, the MCU, they kept hammering it over and over again. Kind of what the internet feels, that there are no Avengers right now.
The Avengers are not coming.
So in this world, there are just no Avengers that are going to step up, even though in real life we kind of know this is not to be true because they literally show us who's coming and who's going to be in this movie. But I am a little bit intrigued to see how they will end up writing all this for it to fit and make sense. Because the way this movie ended kind of left you going, a little bit. It might have been in the decision I would have made, but it was a decision made to keep things interesting and a bit up in the air. So this movie is not just straight up Marvel Suicide Squad, even though everything leading up to this movie made it felt that way. The poster, the trailer, the tagline, well, it's not a copy-paste of the Suicide Squad. It's actually a little bit better than what I expected this movie to be because it actually offers different themes that we really are not accustomed to dealing with, but it's still served in your typical Marvel package. So if you like Marvel movies, you're going to like this movie, and if you hate Marvel movies, you're going to hate this movie because it's still very much a Marvel's movie. But I feel like the truth is this Marvel movie offers a bit more that even past movies have given us. But those were my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments. What did you think of this movie? Thoughts on the post-credit scene? What do you think is going to happen moving forward in the MCU? Any and all Thunderbolt thoughts, let me know down in the comments. When you're down there, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to always and forever, you do you.